Today, we're going to cover a very sensitive subject. So if you're a very sensitive person, go ahead, pause the video, grab your medication, come back, and we'll get through this together. Hard lessons and real wins. Hosted by me, Nick Visoky. All right, let's get into it. All right, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about something I did not understand for a long time. Panic attacks. And more specifically, what mine were actually trying to tell me. Because for years, I thought panic attacks were random. Like my body was malfunctioning. Like something was wrong with me. Like I was weak. Like I needed to calm down, push through, get tougher, be more normal. Whatever that means. But looking back now, I don't think my body was betraying me. I think it was telling the truth before my mind was ready to hear it. And that is a very different story. My first major panic attack happened in nursing school, and I still remember it like it was yesterday, unfortunately. Not because it was dramatic in some cinematic way, because it felt real, a little too real. I was sitting there trying to do what I thought I was supposed to do, trying to follow the respectable path, trying to become the kind of person people would approve of, trying to build the life that looked good on paper. And then my body said, nope. My heart started racing, my palms started getting sweaty, my chest got tight, my breathing went haywire. I had tunnel vision, and I genuinely thought I was about to die. Not exaggerating, that's what it felt like. I remember stepping out, trying to hold it together, trying to not look crazy, trying to act like I was still in control. I was not. And that moment shook me because it was not just fear, it was confusion. Why is this happening to me? Why now? What is wrong with me? That is what I kept asking. But I was asking the wrong question. The better question was, what is this trying to tell me? At that time, I didn't know that yet. All I knew was I couldn't go back there. I couldn't keep pretending the path fit me just because it sounded responsible. And that was the first time my body interrupted a life I was trying to force. Wouldn't be the last. That is the part I wish more people understood. A panic attack is not always just fear. Sometimes it's misalignment with a microphone. Sometimes it's your nervous system giving you a heads up. Sometimes it's a part of you that knows you're living too far away from the truth. And when you're done ignoring that long enough, that signal becomes louder. Now, don't get this all twisted. I'm not saying every panic attack means you need to quit your job, move into the woods, and start identifying as a nomad. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, sometimes the body reacts when the life you're carrying doesn't match what's actually right for you. And a lot of people, especially capable people, ignore that. Because we're trained to, because we call it discipline, we call it maturity, we call it being responsible, we call it pushing through. Meanwhile, your nervous system is in the back like, hey, this isn't it. Hello, still not it. Hi again. Would you like me to set the whole building on fire, or are you ready to listen? That's how it felt like in my life. The signs didn't go away, they only escalated. And that's what happened later too. It happened in my businesses, it happened in environments that looked logical, but didn't fit me honestly. That's what took me so long to understand. The panic wasn't random. The panic was patterned. And once I saw the pattern, I couldn't unsee it. Every time I forced myself into a path that looked respectable but felt wrong, my body pushed back. Every time I kept saying, no, I can make this work. I can tolerate this. I can carry this. I can survive this. My nervous system said, that's great. But no, that changed the way I started seeing panic. Not as a weakness, as information, painful information, inconvenient information, and sometimes embarrassing information. But it's still information. And that's hard to accept because panic attacks make you feel broken. They make you feel fragile. They make you question yourself, especially if you're someone who's used to functioning, used to solving, used to carrying things, because now you're having an internal emergency and there isn't always a visible reason that makes sense to everybody else. That's isolating. You start wondering, can other people tell? Am I losing it? What if this happens again? What if I can't control it next time? What if this is just who I am now? That spiral is mind-numbing because now you're not just dealing with the panic itself. You're dealing with the fear of the next panic attack, and that creates its own prison, which I believe a lot of people quietly live there. And if you have it, I get it. More than I wish I did. See, one of the hardest things about panic attacks is they mess with your trust. You stop trusting your body, you stop trusting your mind, you stop trusting your own reactions. And when that happens, everything feels unstable. Even normal moments start feeling suspicious. Now you're not just living your life. You're monitoring it, watching for signs, watching for sensations, watching for the next wave. That's exhausting. And ironically, that hyper-awareness can make everything worse because now your body isn't just stressed by life. It's stressed by being watched by your own fear. That's why panic can feel so confusing. It isn't just intensity. It's intensity plus anticipation plus shame plus trying to act normal while internally feeling like your soul hit black ice. And that combination will humble anybody. What took me years to realize is that panic attacks weren't always about danger. They were often about contradiction. I was saying one thing and my body was saying another. I was trying to convince myself that I was fine. My nervous system was like, that's interesting because we're clearly not fine. I was trying to build a life based on logic, appearance, responsibility, survival, and what made sense to other people. But my body had other plans. Truth, fit, alignment, and peace. And when those things were missing long enough, my body stopped whispering. The message was quite clear. Not you're weak, not you're damaged, more like you're living too far away from what's honest. Man, that was a hard pill to swallow, but it changed everything once I finally heard it. Now, did I magically become a perfect, healed, stress-free, emotionally enlightened man after realizing that? Of course not. I still had to learn. I still had to change patterns. I still had to stop forcing certain things. I had to get honest about what fit and what didn't, and still had to respect the signals earlier. That's the key. Earlier. Because one of the biggest mistakes for years was waiting until things got loud, waiting until I was exhausted, waiting until I was concerned, waiting until the body basically had to pull the fire alarm. That's not wisdom, that was delayed honesty. I didn't listen to discomfort when it was quiet, so life upgraded for me. Into burnout, into panic, into shutdown, into chaos, and into something that could no longer be ignored. That's expensive, not just financially, mentally, emotionally, and physically. See, I think panic attacks also expose something else in me. How much of my life was built around proving. Proving I could handle it, proving I could be responsible, proving I could make the respectable choice, proving I was disciplined, and proving I belonged in rooms that never felt like it was mine. That mentality is dangerous, because it can keep you in the wrong life way longer than peace ever would. Sometimes panic is what happens when your body gets tired of paying the price for your performance. That one hurts, but it's real. And I think that's why the topic matters so much. Because a lot of people don't just need stress relief, they need truth. They need permission to stop forcing what doesn't fit. They need permission to stop calling it strength when it's actually self-abandonment. They need permission to admit that maybe the body isn't the enemy. Maybe it's the messenger. Alright, let's make this practical. If you're someone who has dealt with panic or feel like your body has been waving a flag lately, here are 3 questions I would ask. First, what in my life am I tolerating that I know is costing too much? See, that question matters because sometimes the panic isn't random. Sometimes it's attached to something very specific you've been trying to normalize. 2, what truth have I been avoiding because it would require change? See, that's a tough one because sometimes we'd rather manage symptoms than face the life decisions behind them. And 3rd, am I listening early or only after my body has to scream? See, that one's huge because the goal isn't to become paranoid. The goal is to become honest sooner. And let me say this too. If you have panic attacks, that doesn't make you hopeless. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less efficient. And it doesn't mean you can't build a strong life. A lot of strong people have gone through this. Quietly, embarrassed, confused, trying to hide it, trying to get through the workday, trying to act normal while feeling like their own nervous system just filed for divorce. You're not alone in that, and you're not crazy. Sometimes your body is simply reacting to what your life has been trying not to admit. And once you start respecting that, things can and will change. Not instantly, but deeply. I think one of the biggest shifts for me was learning to stop asking, how do I shut this down? And start asking, what is this pointing to? That question gave me a different relationship with those panic attacks. Not a romantic one, let's not get weird here, but an honest one. Because once I stopped seeing it as random chaos, I could start seeing the pattern. And once I saw the pattern, I could start making better decisions. Not perfect decisions, cleaner ones, more honest ones, less performative ones. Decisions that respected what my life actually needed, not what looked acceptable to other people. That's where things got better. Not when I became fearless, when I became unhinged. So if panic attacks have been a part of your story as well, maybe ask yourself this. What if they weren't just trying to scare you? What if they were just trying to tell you something? What if they were exposing the cost of a life that no longer fit? What if they were revealing where you were out of alignment? What if they weren't just interruptions but information? Again, I'm not saying every panic attack has one simple meaning. Life is more complex than that. I'm saying sometimes the body knows before the mind is ready to admit. And if that's true, then listening matters. A lot. And here's my 2 cents. They don't make these anymore, do they? I think emotional maturity is not pretending you don't feel anything. It is learning how to feel something without letting it destroy you. You're allowed to be human. You're allowed to feel compassion, joy, love, sadness, grief, and fear. Those things don't make you weak, they make you alive. The problem is when emotions control you, or when you suppress it so long that you start losing your touch with your own reality. I don't think the answer is to become cold. I think the answer is to become aware, to feel but not to drown, to care but not to collapse, to stay human without losing your center. Because if we remove every emotion from ourselves in the name of strength, then what does that leave us with? Alright, if this connected with you, go ahead and drop a comment below and tell me this. What do you think your stress, burnout, or anxiety has been trying to tell you lately? And if you're here for real conversations about rebuilding, pressure, truth, money, discipline, and long-term wins, subscribe. Because this channel isn't about perfection. It's a channel about becoming. Thank you for watching. Let's address the elephant in the room. Because today's topic was no laughing matter. Mental ill... Well... Mental ill... Jeez. Mental ill... Oh, shit, it's happening again.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, Nick. What brings you in today? What's going on? Nick, hold that thought for a second. Okay, yeah, we have 5 minutes. Plenty of time. Go ahead. Tell me. What's on your mind? I'm just so upset. I'm having all these emotions going through me. I feel so betrayed. I'm furious. I can't. Just can't. My wife just thinks I'm having an episode. But she doesn't get it. I don't get it. Why won't they release the Epstein files? I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And now they're throwing aliens into my face? Unbelievable. I'm just gonna need 2 bottles of your finest mixture. Nick, have no fear. Your prescription is here. But honestly, underneath this white coat, I'm also human. I have emotions. Everybody thinks being a doctor is so glamorous. You know, half the time I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just writing prescriptions all day or sending you off to some specialist. Heck, I'm even having you sit in the waiting room for an hour just so I could build the insurance company my productivity. You know, but I have kids. I have young kids who are in private school. My mortgage payment is up here, which is even higher than that. And then during lunch, I go out and buy my wife this gift that she really wanted. Heck, I don't even know what it is or what it's used for. But if I have to spitball, I think it's a great storage for my credit cards. Thanks, Doc. I think I'm feeling a lot better after speaking about these truth bombs. Thanks, that really helped. Hey, so I have this podcast that I'm doing on YouTube. Any chance you can swing by? I think you'd be an excellent guest for this episode. We can just talk about everything, get it all on record. What do you think? Yeah, that's going to be a hard no. Get out of my office. I'm just so emotional right now. Hey! Keep your emotions under control! That was rude. But I guess it's better than getting slapped by Will Smith. I'm a man of a few words, so I'm going to keep the speech to almost non-existent. I just want to thank a few people. Me, myself, and I. Guys, without you, none of this would have been possible. Thank you.